and welcome to season 2 of H&L Living with Vashaunna Renee. I am so excited to be meeting with some awesome new people this season and just still promoting peace, love, wellness, all the good and positive stuff that you can stand. That is what this platform is all about. We see enough negativity all day long across all social boards. Anything you can name, it's got some type of negativity on it. So this platform is just to do the opposite. I maybe create a balance is what we're trying to do, and just shine a light on some positive things that are going on, some people that are making a change and that are also promoting nothing but goodness that we have right at our fingertips. If you want to find something positive, you can, and that's what we are here to do, is just be a light, and hopefully you'll see some of our episodes or all of our episodes. All right, get your pen and pads ready. Let's get started. Hey, Sonia, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
Good, 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 good. I am doing very well. So happy that you were able to join me today. I have so many questions to ask you. And they may feel a little personal because I've got my own questions I want to ask as well, but I'll try to get as much information to the people as needed. But I'm so happy that you were able to join me and agree to do this with me. I've been following you for a while, so to get to finally chat with you and kind of ask some questions and let people know what you're available to do for them, I'm pretty excited about it. Okay.
Absolutely.
All righty. So first, I want to start with, because I'm always curious. Like, you see people online and you see that they are an expert at X, Y, and Z. But it's like I'm always curious to know, where did they start? Like, how did you get to how did you get to GIP Financials? How did we get to this space?
Absolutely. I do have a story.
Right.
Right. So I'm actually an educator by trade. I've been
Okay.
in education for over 20 years. My first 12 years, I was a music teacher, elementary music teacher.
Oh
And
wow.
then the latter 10 years, I was director of finance and operations for a local
Hmm.
charter school here in Memphis. Now, while
Okay.
I was teaching, I had a couple of businesses. So, like I said, my bachelor's in music ed
Okay.
from the University of Memphis. Go Tigers, go. And so what I did, like right around 2008, 2009, when
Hmm.
the recession happened,
Okay.
my dad took a financial hit from his retirement. So he was looking for
Hmm.
ways to kind of build his, retirement back up. So
Okay.
my parents and I started investing in real estate, and we bought a block of properties in Fraser,
Oh
called
nice.
Bell Investments. And what we
Hmm.
ended up doing with that, which was ministry in itself, which we thought we were just, providing housing, just rental
Hmm.
properties. But God turned that thing into, we actually were providing temporary and permanent housing for several of
Oh
the
wow.
nonprofits in Memphis.
Hmm.
That was a real blessing until, my dad took ill. And so we
Hmm.
ended up having to sell the properties. But then I
Hmm.
also, because I taught music, I taught piano lessons. And
Oh,
so I had the Music Kids Piano Academy. And
hmm.
I did probably from the course of time that where I was teaching, I taught probably, I'm pretty sure I taught over 100 kids. So we did group and individual piano lessons, and we did the
Oh wow.
recitals. We were at the Emerald Keyboard Festival, all of that good stuff. And so I've always kind of been an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form. So
Hmm.
once I got to the charter school, and I thought I was going to be there teaching music, but I was actually helping my, former principal, because he was at the school where I was teaching music at. They asked him to
Uh-huh.
start the charter school, and I thought I was going to be there just teaching music, right? Because everybody kind of had the Birdman hammer, like,
Right, ready for you.
right. And so, unfortunately, we had a coworker to pass away, and
Hmm.
connected back at the funeral, and that's when he asked me to come and help him part time.
Okay.
And because at that time I got remarried. I was divorced,
Mhm.
got remarried. And then I took that time to kind of, work on Bell investments in my piano studio.
Mhm.
I saved up some money. So we were
Yeah.
good, kind of coasting. And so I helped him and I was doing, operations, pretty much everything non-instructional. And so I never left that space. And so I had to
Mhm.
learn everything literally from the bottom, accounting,
Mhm.
payroll, all everything that, district compliance, state,
Mhm.
compliance and things like that. And then another thing I had to also learn was vendor relationships and accounts payable. So this is
Mhm.
where GIP came into play.
Okay.
So a lot of entrepreneurs are not familiar with how to do business with a school, right?
Mhm.
And the charter schools work a little differently than the school district, because in
Okay.
some cases we can be a tad bit less formal
Yeah.
than the district, right? So
Mhm.
where the school is in South Memphis, my boss was a former teacher. He knew South Memphis. He taught at Riverview,
Mhm.
Harvard, Vance, and all that. So a lot of his, former students, which were parents and grandparents, they would ask like, I do this type of work, put me on, put me on. So it's kind of like good cop, bad cop. Like, yeah, I'm gonna, send you over here to, our, DFO. And so I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, we gotta give you a W-9, gotta do this, that, and the third. And they were like, wait a minute. I ain't no, that whole type of thing. So I think the two big
Yes.
things that I constantly had to, coach people on was the W-9 and
Mhm.
telling them that I couldn't pay them through PayPal's friends and family because they were trying to avoid the fees, and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
And so from there, I noticed that with my team and I there at the school, we were like helping those vendors create invoices, teach
Okay.
them how to do things in order to, because we had to keep a paper trail and make
Mhm.
everything official and formal
Yeah.
and legit. So walking through that education, I was like, dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like, who what's going on? Why there's no resources to help? And so that's
Yes.
when we started GIP Financials, and that we started December 17th, 2019. So I mean, right before the pandemic. So God,
Okay.
God was very strategic. And when I tell you,
Yeah.
we pretty much hit the ground running with, literally evangelizing about the
Mhm.
PPP and EIDL loans. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
you remember, like some folks were scared to death to take it. Some folks
Yes.
was like, I'm all in.
Me.
I'm going. Some folks was like, cause folks was out there like, let me do the application for you. You can get all this
Yeah.
money, give me a cut and stuff. It was insane. It was
Yes.
insane. And
Mhm.
so we were out there evangelizing, telling folks, hey, you can do it the right way. And we
Mhm.
actually got some of the, reluctant business owners who qualified to get
Mhm.
the forgiven PPP
Yeah.
to go ahead and do it. We walked them through it. And we had 7 to apply, and all 7 of them got their PPP loans
Oh,
forgiven.
nice.
And so from there, it just kind of, went from
Mhm.
there.
Nice. Now, this was not part of my questions, but I do want to ask. But you just mentioned it. So, as far as the PPP loans and how even here recently, you still see that some people did it that shouldn't have been doing it and are still, I guess, getting caught up in it. In my mind, because they went so long quietly and no one said anything about it, you just assumed, or I assumed that, oh, it's fine. Everybody that did it got what they got, and now it's done and over with. Um, do you know if it's done and over with, or are people getting in trouble for that, or no, or what is going on?
That's a very good question. So I'm gonna take it in 2 parts. So I'm gonna talk about the
Okay.
PPP and then the EIDL.
Okay.
So if you recall from the PPP, and this is one of the things that we were telling people, like if
Mm-hmm.
you get this PPP, you got to read the fine print because the SBA was telling folks you have to keep those records on file for no longer than about 6 years.
Okay.
They can, what I call a hey big head. They could be like, hey,
Nice, Vicky.
you got that P? Yeah, we got hey big head.
Yes. Oh.
You got that loan? Let me run it back. We actually, I'm in this coaching group, and one of my teammates, she does low income housing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, She kind of does a low income housing like management type of thing where
Mm-hmm.
she manages the tax credits. And one of
Okay.
the biggest things that she had to deal with, because a lot of, not a lot, but some of the folks who receive PPP loans were actually in low income housing.
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay.
because they reported that, because they got the PPP loan,
Mm-hmm.
they reported that as income and it got back to the housing authority. And so several folks had to move out because they no
Mm-hmm.
longer qualified
Oh
for
wow.
housing. So those are some of the
Mm-hmm.
things. And then I think the most recent thing, I don't know if you've heard
Mm-hmm.
of the Corporate Transparency Act or
Think
the
so.
beneficiary ownership information form,
Mm-hmm.
BOI form.
Okay.
This is a new thing, compliance thing from the federal government. That now
Mm-hmm.
that every LLC and corporation now that's newly formed or has already
Mm-hmm.
been formed has to report who the owners are to the federal
Mm-hmm.
government. So it began at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So if your business is an LLC and it was created before January the 1st, 2024, you
Mm-hmm.
have until January the 1st, 2025 to complete that report,
Okay.
that BOI form. And there was a lot of, stuff going back and forth about that because especially from the bookkeepers and the attorneys, there
Mm-hmm.
was some liability things going on about who's supposed to complete it, right?
Okay.
So I think that's the biggest thing with
Mm-hmm.
the PPP. As a result of the PPP, now the federal government is offering more compliance. So that's the
Okay.
PPP part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but just to answer your question, yes, the federal government still, they still,
Oh my
they still,
goodness.
they still look.
Okay.
Right. And that,
Oh
like I
my
said, that was
goodness.
the reason why they started the Corporate Transparency Act, because there
Mm-hmm.
were so many LLCs and stuff, folks were applying for stuff, and yeah, it was a mess. EIDL. So the EIDL, when it first came out, you got the loan, but then you also had like what they call like a targeted grant.
Mm-hmm.
You got like $10,000 if you qualify with these extra, if you in an underserved neighborhood, stuff like that.
Okay.
But the EIDL was based off of the income that your business had. And I think they
Mm-hmm.
gave you like, I want to say at least half of that. So if you
Okay.
pay like 100,000 gross, they were going to loan you at least 50% of that.
Okay.
But that is, I still say it, I will hold to it. The EIDL was by far the cheapest business funding that we are probably going to see in our lifetime.
Okay.
That
That's
is
fantastic.
amortized over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think the max interest rate was 3.75%.
Oh wow.
And then during the pandemic, you didn't have to pay. It was on deferment automatically for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so with that, now there are a lot of businesses who are now in default because they borrow so much money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now that is back in repayment status, now they're having to go back to the SBA
Go back.
or whoever they got the EIDL loan from.
Mm-hmm.
There are several SBA lenders and stuff like that. Now they're having
Mm-hmm.
to renegotiate and stuff like that. So, and I think
Gotcha.
the biggest thing that I see with entrepreneurs, especially in those cases,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty universal. We all want funding, but how much can you really afford to borrow?
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know,
that takes me to another question, and this is in oh, I'm all out of
that's
order right
the
now, but what you just mentioned though. So as far as and first let me ask this. So as far as the people that you work with, do you only work with entrepreneurs or do you work with just a husband and wife that needs to adjust their finances or something like that? Or is it just strictly entrepreneurs that you all work with?
good question. So
Mhm.
GIP primarily works with for-profits and nonprofits. So we got
Okay.
social enterprises and our, entrepreneurs. However, I would love to share a resource that's free to
Hmm.
Shelby County
Okay.
residents called the Greater Memphis Financial Empowerment Center.
Oh, good.
Free
Okay.
for all Shelby County residents, where you can get free financial coaching, budgeting, credit, help, bankruptcy, all of that.
Mm. Oh, nice. Okay. Perfect. Now, to my question, as far as business funding, and borrowing funds and things of that nature. So when people, a lot of times you hear, especially for nonprofits, you see them looking for grants, doing grant writing and things of that nature. So a grant is that, can I call that free money? Or does something come along with getting a grant? And depending on where it comes from, you may have to pay something back, or how does that work?
That's the $64 million question. Right. So do you actually have to pay the grant back? No, you don't. However,
Okay.
there is some skin in the game. That's why I love to say grants aren't free.
Okay.
Because I think the biggest misconception, and shout out to the PPP for this, because this is
Mhm.
where it started, in my opinion. Money just raining out from everywhere. Folks like, give it to me.
Yes.
So, right. And so with grants, the biggest misconception is that once you get the grant, it's just you give me this money, I can do what I want to with it. And that is
Mm-hmm.
totally not the case. So the
Okay.
definition of a grant is that, with either the federal government, state government, or a nonprofit foundation, some organization is
Mm-hmm.
willing to give a business money, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do two things: to stimulate the economy and
Mm-hmm.
to address a community concern,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that's the primary function of a grant. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're getting this grant, it's automatic accountability. So if the
Mm-hmm.
federal government is giving you money to, like, I'll use GIP Financials, for example, right? We will partner with nonprofits to help entrepreneurs, with financial literacy. It's called
Okay.
technical assistance,
Mm-hmm.
right? The federal government, in this case, the SBA, will give those nonprofits funding,
Okay.
right? To benefit, right? Technical assistance. And
Mm-hmm.
then with the money that the entrepreneurs don't have to spend on bookkeeping,
Right.
for that helps put money back into the economy,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That's how it works. So what that means is, if the federal government is giving that money to that nonprofit, or in
Mm-hmm.
this, I'll use probably a better example, or to GIP Financials,
Mm-hmm.
right? To filtering it down. GIP Financials, if the nonprofit is giving us over $600
Mm-hmm.
to do what we need to do, then we are obligated to give them a W-9,
Okay.
because we have the nonprofit has to report that income,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they gave us on that 1099. Now, hear me clearly, the nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
does not have to pay anything.
Okay.
They just have to report that they gave us that money, because we are a
Okay.
profit. We have to pay taxes on the money that the nonprofit gave us.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
how that works. And so the accountability piece is, with those grants, that if the federal government is giving that nonprofit that grant, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to say, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do with that money? And so we need some
Mm-hmm.
data. We need some surveys. We need some social media pictures. We need a
Oh,
report,
wow.
things like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's their accountability.
Okay.
And our accountability, because we were the benefactor of those grant funds through the nonprofit, the least we can do is pay taxes on the income that they gave us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And so that's how pretty much that works. So you just
Okay.
have to be really aware of the type of grants that you're applying for, because just like you
Mm-hmm.
said, there are some eligibility requirements. There are
Okay.
some grants that are specifically for, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, things of that nature. There might be grants for if you stay in a certain, area,
Mm-hmm.
region, and things like that. So you just have to be very mindful of
Mm-hmm.
what you're signing up for, because folks just like to get the money and run,
Yeah.
and it just is gonna bite you in the end, especially if you don't have any type of checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So I got a question about checks and balances. Okay.
Oh,
So,
keep it going.
so if you're a new entrepreneur, like let's say, for example, I have two teenage sons. Let's say that they want to start, I don't a lawn care service or something like that. And so they're not making a lot of money. Um, but the little bit of money that they're making, it seems like it's really easy to get overwhelmed with the financial piece of any business. And I just said lawn care because I figured, you know, you're not making millions of dollars if you're a teenager just starting a
Right.
lawn care service. So it's like, what are or what's some advice that you would give small business just getting started? I know something I always hear is like, save your receipts, save your receipts. And I'm like, how do I keep up, even just that piece? How do I keep up with receipts? How do I stay organized? Like, what's some advice you would give to a new entrepreneur that's
Gotcha.
just getting started as far as their finances are concerned?
Gotcha. All right. So just on the tangent, you brought up the example of the kids. There is a nonprofit organization in the city of Memphis called Light Memphis,
Okay.
LITE Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do, their program is specifically for youth entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So if you got anybody in the audience that has a baby that is interested in entrepreneurship, get them connected to Light Memphis
Okay.
because they're going to help them with their fundamentals. So I want to put that shout out to Light Memphis.
Okay.
So the first thing, so you got a business, now what? The first thing you need to do is get an EIN.
Okay.
First thing you need to
Mm-hmm.
do, that's the social security number for your
For the
business.
business. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And one of the things that I like to say too, especially since we're in the state of Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
before you might want to do this before you sign up for your EIN, check the name of your business with
Okay.
the Tennessee Secretary of State, or for those who are not in Tennessee, your respective
Mm-hmm.
Secretary of State in your state, because they all have a business name search.
Okay.
So just check to see if the name that you're thinking about is in that database. And if it is already taken, just do a slight modification.
Mm-hmm.
Then go get your EIN,
Okay.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's first. Once you get your EIN, the next thing you need to do is open a business checking account. Now, if you
Okay.
are teeny tiny, under the age of 18, then you have to do it with mom, pops, or the adult, your legal
Okay.
guardian, right? But if you're over 18, you
Mm-hmm.
can definitely do that, but you got to have your EIN with you.
Okay.
Now, after that, then you have to figure out as far as the type of entity that you want your business to be structured around,
Okay.
right? Especially if you're starting out, you got your sole proprietorship or
Mm-hmm.
you have your LLC,
Okay.
right? Your sole proprietorship is going to be, although it's probably the most affordable, if you will, it's going to probably put you at most risk.
Okay.
Because if you are, like, say for GIP Financials,
Mm-hmm.
sole proprietorship wouldn't have worked for us because we're working with other people's numbers,
Okay.
right? And God
Mm-hmm.
forbid if we had, made an error to where, a company had to pay way more in taxes that they had planned, and they
Mm-hmm.
found it was our fault and they sue us. And if I wasn't protected by an LLC, I just had my sole proprietorship
Mm-hmm.
with nothing else, no liability insurance or anything, they could sue me, get all of my personal assets, bank
Okay.
account, house, all of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just
Mm-hmm.
to let you know kind of what, the pros and cons are. Now,
Okay.
if you cutting grass,
Mm-hmm.
you all right. I feel like you are. But
Mm-hmm.
once revenue start building up, then it
Mm-hmm.
might be time to go ahead and get the LLC,
Okay.
right? State of
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, the LLC is $300 a year,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? It is probably
Mm-hmm.
one of the most expensive fees probably in the United States.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the top.
Right. Yeah. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so with the LLC, what that does is if you are, God forbid, if you are to be sued, they're suing the assets within the LLC
Right.
and your personal assets are protected,
Okay.
right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of figure those things out. I want to add something else in here as well, because a lot of folks are passing this word around, escort.
Uh-huh.
You know, I love y'all, right? Escort is not an entity. It is a tax election.
Okay.
If you are an LLC and you are making probably at minimum net profit, this is after expenses, about $50,000 or more, then I would advise you to speak with a tax professional to see if the S Corp election benefits you, because it makes no sense for you to take the S Corp election if you are not profiting. Why? Because the S Corp election is going to require the business owner, who is also called the shareholder, to be on payroll. And you have to be making what they consider a reasonable salary. Now, it's not necessarily defined what the reasonable salary is, but you can run some tests, and run some reports on that. So a lot of people just feel like, oh, I'll do an S Corp and it's going to protect me and do this, that, and the third. What you don't understand is that S Corp tax return, it costs more, and you're also going to be paying more because you have to run payroll, right?
Okay.
Which means you're going to be paying taxes and all of that different type of stuff. So the S Corp comes because it's assumed that you got the money to, sustain it, then it's going to come with those extra costs. An S Corp tax return costs way more than a 1040 in a Schedule C. Right. So those are kind of the basic things. Get your EIN, check your name for your business first. Your name for your business on Secretary of State, EIN, checking account. And then from there, figure out what you want to do with your entity. And then lastly, make sure that you have a business license, that you're, regardless if you're a sole proprietor or LLC or just a regular corporation, a C corporation. You can do that in the state of Tennessee also, but if you, come on, you ain't making that money like that, don't even look at the corporation, right? But you want to make sure that you have documentation showing that you are permitted to do business in the state of Tennessee. We get that through your initial application for your business license comes through your county clerk.
Okay.
And then after that, it'll come through, online through 10 So, but then that's a whole nother story for another day.
Another thing.
So that's pretty much the bare bones of it.
Okay, I have another question for you. And you tell me if this is something that you have to deal with or if you deal with. So, business credit. Now, you see tons of people on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and they're like, oh, you can become a millionaire next week if you get these credit cards and you set this up and you pay this off on your taxes and all your trips and all. Like, you see a lot of information on social media as it relates to spending money, writing it off on your taxes, getting all these credit cards, which I still can't figure out how, if I'm bringing in $100 a week, how am I having 10 different credit cards that I need to pay off? I still don't understand that piece, but I mean, you see it every day. So tell me your thoughts on business credit.
Well, here's the thing, especially if you're starting out in business, your personal credit is still going to play a role because you have to understand that if you don't have any credit history, I say business history, right? Then you're still going to be required. They're going to ask you for your social, right? So I will say that once you've been in the game for a while and you've built up credit and you've done what you were supposed to do with your credit, yes, you will have those credit cards that won't report on your personal credit. They are there. I have a few, right? However, there still is a level of accountability and stewardship that comes with that. Yeah, I see that online too a lot. And I just tell people, you know, between them and grant writers, take it with a grain of salt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff you can do on your own,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because once you start, um, you know, once you register your business, you know, with the state, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll start getting, you know, mail or credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely suggest if you're starting out, one, you have to make sure that you are making enough money to make sure that you're able to pay off the card.
Mm-hmm.
First thing, outside of your 9 to 5, if
Right.
if you're applying for this card for your business needs to be able to take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then from there, if you're ready to get business credit, I will start with the bank that you already have a relationship with.
Okay.
Start there and then
Mm-hmm.
let them kind of walk you through that process. Start with
Okay.
one card.
Mm-hmm.
Start with one card. Or here's what I would also suggest. If you, from your personal credit card stash,
Mm-hmm.
if you've got one card,
Mm-hmm.
dedicate one card for your business expenses, because you want to be able to keep track of all that stuff, right? Dedicate one personal card as you're growing,
Right.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to commingle. That's why I said in the last question, you want to make sure that you have a business checking account,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be very hard for you to tell the IRS if you really have a business or not, if all your personal money, you know, is going
It's
to your
all
business
tied up.
account and
Yeah.
vice versa, right? So that's why I say, and we know that because even with me, when I started as GIP Financials,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I was building up my business credit, I had to use just one of my personal cards just to keep everything nice and neat.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you can grow into that. Right. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
say for business credit. You just have to start small. Start
Mm-hmm.
small. And I will also say this as well, because I mean, full transparency.
Mm-hmm.
We started in 2019, right? We were growing, but I think between 20, like end of 2021 to 2023, like our business just went, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were, you know, doing expos and vending and
Yeah.
things like that. I got a few credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
right? We went to InvestFest in 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even I had a plan, wrote everything down, right? But at the end of the day, once I, once I, you know, did all of that, I decided to go full time in my business
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the 22-23 school year. I ended up
Okay.
leaving a little bit earlier than expected, right? And then in
Mm-hmm.
June, although I had saved a bit of money, we had a tree fall on our house because there was a storm going on around that time.
Mm-hmm.
We had to get our tree cut down. That pretty much depleted all
Yeah.
of the savings that I had,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
to the point where, and then, you know, as far as the, you know, I guess the economy and stuff, you know, it started kind of slow motion. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily, most of my cars were with American Express.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told them, I was like, hey, I need a payment plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly put some on hardship. And what
Mm-hmm.
American Express did for me was they was like, hey, if you want a hardship, we got something even better for you. We're gonna lock all these cars in. I still got them, they're still active,
Mm-hmm.
but they're going to put them all on hold. And I got a 4-year plan to pay them off.
Oh, nice.
So you got to also, if you're gonna do this thing, because
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship
Yes.
want to do this as well. So you got to be honest with yourself to be like, hey, I need, you know, some assistance. And I say that because, like, when entrepreneurship ain't for the faint of heart, but you're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
let your pride, let
Yeah.
your pride. And I'm, you know, I'm a bookkeeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to use the word accountant because accountant is referred to a CPA, and I'm not a CPA,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I share those things because the entrepreneurship journey is going
Mm-hmm.
to have its ebbs and flows. But you as the
Yeah.
CEO, you got to make sure that you stop the bleeding by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You got a family at stake. I got a team. I got to make
Yeah.
sure that they get paid, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So you have to make some very courageous decisions
Mm-hmm.
as you're going through this process. So I hope I answered your question with that.
Yes, yes, you did. Yes, and we're getting on time, so I'm gonna ask one more question. Um, just what is your overall advice for any entrepreneur? Really, they could be just getting started, or they could be 10 years in, but like you mentioned, there's ebbs and flows of every company. So, what's kind of your advice to most entrepreneurs that you give, just as a make sure you do this? If you don't do nothing else, make sure you do this.
Exactly. So the mission of GIP Financials is to empower entrepreneurs to know their numbers and position their businesses for profit. And the
Okay.
way that we do that is through fundamental business finance education. The
Okay.
Bible says, "In all you're getting, get understanding." Entrepreneur, ma'am, sir, invest in yourself
Mhm.
before you go into, and like I'll say this as well, as far as why we started GIP Financials, as when I was, DFO, I realized that a lot of entrepreneurs don't just start businesses to start businesses. It starts from my baby got, stuff for after school I got to pay for,
Yeah. Hmm.
or my relatives, I got to bring some extra money into the
Yeah.
house,
Hmm.
right? So I don't like to use the term survival mode, but in honesty, that's kind of what it is, because you're so focused
Exactly.
on getting the money that you're not worried about the formalities
Hmm.
of it, right? And with that, I knew then that in order for us to get from point A to point B, because I also saw too that folks had these businesses, they were doing fine, and then once the PPP came along, they didn't
Hmm.
have what they needed to qualify. And a lot of
Okay.
folks was like, you know what, bump this, I ain't gonna finish doing this business or whatever. We gotta, if
Hmm.
you're gonna be in business for real, you got to realize that you cannot run your business from under the table,
Okay.
right? So you're gonna have to get some education. Make sure that your business has proof of concept that people really want it. And
Hmm.
then I say that the city of Memphis, folks can say what they want about the city of Memphis, but I'm here to tell you from an entrepreneurship standpoint, we are probably one of the most heavily resourced. See, we
Oh,
have
I
a
love that.
whole business, we have an Office of Diversity Business Compliance
Hmm.
downtown for
Hmm.
entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? You need to connect with them.
Hmm.
Formerly called the BBA, the Black Business Association. I think now they're the Memphis Black Chamber of Commerce. You
Hmm.
get Epicenter. You got a slew of nonprofit
Resources. Hmm.
organizations that have
Hmm.
free resources. If you can't
Hmm.
formally pay for GIP Financials or marketing firm and things like that, we
Hmm.
also have we have a whole podcast. We got a YouTube channel
Hmm.
full
Yeah.
of information that you
Hmm.
can get information from and stuff like that. So just don't try to figure this thing out on your own.
On your own.
There are plenty of free resources to get you where you need to go. And don't be
Hmm.
afraid to start small.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to start small.
Awesome. Love, love, love that. Well, I so appreciate you coming to join me on season 2 of H&L Living with Vashaunna Renee. I do have 3 quick and fun questions. These are not, you know, that deep. So
Okay.
so they're just quick fire questions. Okay, so if you could recommend any book, what book would you recommend?
The most recent one that I've read is We All Should Be Millionaires
Oh,
by Rachel
nice. Okay.
Rodgers.
Okay, gotcha. If you could work with any entrepreneur, which entrepreneur would you work with?
Oh man. I say right now, I would say his name is David Shands.
Okay,
He's with the Social Proof podcast. He's a serial
okay,
entrepreneur, but he's definitely like a coach. So if y'all
okay,
go to the Social Proof podcast, I just love how he pours into people through coaching.
Okay, love that. Love that. And my last question, if you had a theme song to describe your journey to where you are now, what would your theme song be?
It doesn't have a uh I don't think it has the name of a song, but it's the Muppet Show. Ba-dum, ba-dum, do, 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 do. Ba-dum, ba-dum, do, 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 do. Ba-dum, ba-dum, do, 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 boo, 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 boo. That's my theme song.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Muppet Show style.
That is perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you joining me for this call and getting a chance to break down some really important information that we miss. And I mean, a lot of us miss the information that we need to keep our systems, our financial literacy
Yeah.
intact. I think a lot of us are missing that with, and I don't want to just blame social media for it, but there's a lot of pages where people are just spending hundreds, thousands, sometimes millions of dollars on stuff, but they don't have their books in order, and it doesn't always work out well. So this is a very important piece, especially with our community, that I think we need more information on. We need the spotlight as bright as possible on making sure that not just us, but our kids, our grandkids, making sure everyone is squared away. We're not just here to, live lavishly and not provide for the people that are coming behind us. So I think this was super important, and I so appreciate you for doing this and being on the show.
No, no problem. Thank you for having me. And
Well,
if for
thank
if for
you.
y'all that want to connect with GIP, you can go to our website, gipfinancials.com. And we're on Instagram, Facebook at GIP_financials. And we got a YouTube channel. Go get all that free content. We got a podcast from chaos to clarity, unleash your business potential.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I can't wait until the next time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you in person soon and we can meet face to face, and I can get a little extra knowledge on the side from you.
We need
But
to
I
try. We
still,
try to do an in-person event. We try to do a live event soon.
yes, please do. And I will be on the lookout because I think I see just about everything that you post, if I'm not mistaken. So if not, just please send it to me so that I can come and visit. I'll be so happy to join.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Until next time.
All right, hopefully you enjoyed episode 1 of season 2 of H&L Living with Vashaunna Renee. Oh my goodness, listen, Sonja has so much knowledge in the arena of financial literacy. Listen, we cannot continue to live paycheck to paycheck. It is time for us to elevate our finances, and not elevate so we can go spend it on more stuff, but elevate it so that we can invest and so that we can have our numbers where they should be in our businesses. If you have a side business, she gave you kind of steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of if you want to start your own business, where you should start and what you should do. So hopefully you took notes. You had some pen and paper ready to get all of the goodness that she gave, because she provided some gems that were really needed. So again, financial literacy is so important for our community. It's not just so that you can go and buy the latest this, that, or the other, which, I mean, if you can do that, go ahead, feel free, but just make sure you have your priorities in order and make sure you are spending your funds on the things that you should be spending them on before you go and buy the this, that, and the other that makes you happy, whatever that may be. Just make sure you have your finances in order so that we as a community can stop living below the poverty line, because a lot of us are there. Even though we're working hard, some of us have 1, 2, 3 jobs, and we're still not where we should be financially, only because we don't have the information that we need,
or we just need a little bit more understanding of how to go about living the life that we're supposed to live as far as our finances are concerned. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you took lots of notes from Sonja, because she did an amazing job and gave so much good information that not only you all may need, but I needed myself. So be sure to follow her, subscribe. She has so many tools and resources that she gives out on her Instagram page and her YouTube. She has a podcast as well. So make sure you follow her, get as much information as you can, because I think we can all benefit from a little bit more information when it comes to our finances, our monies, our pockets, the things that are most important for us to survive in this age, especially in these crazy times where you're spending tons of money just at the grocery store and the gas station. So be sure to make sure you have your finances in order, not just for yourself, but for your kids and even your grandkids if possible. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'm so excited about season 2 and what's all in store for me to come and share with you all. I'm super excited about it. So be sure to like, share, subscribe this episode, all episodes that come out, and just continue to support and be a light to the people that are around you. So until next time, peace and love. Bye.